afternoon. You know, as governor, it's supposed to be your job to be strong. Looking at all these families, that's really hard today. We're here today to remember a day that took 81 Kentucky lives, including 24 in this county, each one a child of God, irreplaceable to their family, to this community, and that we will miss every day in our lives. There's something important and special about saying their name. The Bible talks about it, about how we remember and how we love. And I want to make sure we get each and every one, because I spent about a year and a half reading names, or at least ages, when we lost them early in the pandemic. I think we got 23, but nobody should ever be left behind. So let me add one more. Jamie Wagner. We remember this day because of the loss, but we also remember this day because of the heroic acts that were occurring, even as that tornado was going through, and right in the immediate aftermath by so many heroes that were there to try to help those they could. We're here to honor the first responders that run into danger to protect us. And we remember that their example requires us to be second responders, whether that's a hug or help or a meal or shelter or carrying someone's grief just a little while if they will let us. I remember that night at the Emergency Operations Center, first talking to your mayor and Chief Kent and Chief Creason as the tornado was hitting this town. And I will tell you that hurt. And then it wasn't 10 minutes later that I heard from across the room that it hit my dad's hometown, Dawson Springs. And in each, we had lost so many lives. But I remember on that conversation talking especially to Chief Creason about how they needed to respond, yet their own fire station had taken a direct hit. Chief and the firefighters had to tie a chain around the doors to pull them off the hinges, just so they could get the fire engines and other equipment out so that they could get to people in need. They were among the first on the scene after a tornado leveled the candle factory with dozens of workers inside. I remember standing at first light at that scene, more devastating than anything I'd ever seen in my life, praying that as many people would make it out as possible. Firefighters, police officers, EMT, state troopers, so many were there, and also all across this city and this region. And our amazing National Guard, getting here as quickly as they can, and every day I'm reminded that Kentucky is blessed to have the best National Guard in this country, bar none. They show up and they do their very best. But more than that, it was Kentuckians, neighbors, working through the rubble, trying to lift other people out, trying to be there to help them, but then also to share in the heartbreak. These first responders did it all, coming back again and again. I remember talking to Chief Kent about how his folks were out helping and they didn't even know if their homes were standing. At the end of whatever shift that they would get off of, they didn't know if they would go back to a structure that was still there, and not one of them complained, as everyone continued to work to try to help this community as much as possible. So on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, let's thank all of our first responders. You know, taking care of our neighbors in need is one of our most fundamental values as Kentuckians. It's also one of the most important teachings of Christ. Loving our neighbor as ourself, and the parable of the Good Samaritan reminding us that everyone is our neighbor. It's our job to love and be good to every single person around us. And what I often tell people when it seems like maybe we've lost our hope in humanity is if you get to that point, just watch what people are doing right after something as devastating as these tornadoes. Watch how they're trying to help. Watch how the things that we were arguing about a month before don't matter at all, and how our goodness shines through. Our first responders lived that value every day and never more heroically than on that dark day 1 year ago. And from darkness, from that struggle, our values and the light has shone through. I remember standing here at First Light with Mayor Onan, Chief Creason, and Chief Kent, and wondering what it would look like a year from now. I knew we'd still carry the grief because grief is the other side of love. And when you've loved so deeply, it continues to hurt because those memories and that relationship and connection is so strong. But your work here in this community has inspired me every single day. And the images that went out, most people think that the help we got, the world tuning in and helping, was because of the damage they saw. It's not. It's because of the goodness of the people that they saw when they turned on their TVs. We saw kindness. We saw generosity. Scripture tells us to love your neighbor as yourself, and you do that here in Mayfield. We saw that in the story of a young boy outside of Mayfield who had just had his birthday the day the tornadoes hit. He got in all types of toys at his birthday party, and he was really excited. But when he heard about what went on in this community, when he walked past that TV, and he heard that the children in this community lost every toy they had, not just their Christmas or birthday toys, he asked his mom to drive him to a donation site. And he gave up every single toy that he'd been given for his birthday. That shows a lot of love and a lot of goodness. And I want to take a minute to thank our First Lady, Brittany Beshear, who's here with us today, that led a toy drive that I think has to be the most successful toy drive in human history, where just 2 weeks after devastation, we tried, and I know it's hard, to make sure kids could smile and have one good day to start making up for all the tough days they've been through. I'm so grateful for the people who supported those children that day and who supported the families of Mayfield in Western Kentucky by donating to that Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund. Thanks to generosity across the country, we've seen over $52.3 million come in. It's helped us pay for every funeral because these families, our families, shouldn't have to wait for a reimbursement and shouldn't worry about that in their time of grief. We provided help to insured and uninsured renters and homeowners across the country. We helped out farmers in this community because the granary had been damaged so much. We pledged $16 million to rebuild 300 new homes because a day like today, wet and cold, reminds you how critical that roof over your head is and how warm our memories and our times with our families are inside of them. And this number hadn't been published before, but when you look at what the federal government, the state government, and insurers have now put in, over $800 million has flown into this part of Western Kentucky over the past year. So today, I'm announcing the remainder of the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund is going to the families that have been harmed. We had about 10,000 families that between filing a claim and getting your deductible paid from us, or anyone who qualified for even $1 of FEMA, I'm here to tell you, starting today, there are 10,000 checks going out for $1,000 apiece to these families. That's the remaining $10 million of this fund. We hope that it can help just a little bit. I know it can't replace or repair, but I know that there's still a lot of work to be done even 1 year after. All this was made possible because of love. And I don't think we say we love each other enough. I love you. I care about you. And we are not going anywhere. I know this rebuilding effort is going to continue to take time. And we're going to continue to show up, to do what we can to repair lives and to repair buildings, but also to restore hope. And you know, your community has been there for me, even when a disaster hit in a different place. So right after the Eastern Kentucky flooding, And in both of these instances, I didn't sleep for about 3 days. I know you all didn't either. I'm just about reaching my breaking point, and Mayor Onan calls me and leaves a message, and I pick it up. And she says, I just want you to know that Chief Creason had loaded up his ambulance with supplies and is headed to the east. And he wanted me to send you a very specific message that the rest of Kentucky was there for Western Kentucky when we got hit. And we're going to be there for other parts of Kentucky when they got hit. I got to tell you, I had more energy after that call. All of that tiredness and exhaustion and trauma faded away because of the goodness of this community and who you all are. And so together, we're going to work to build a brighter future. You know, it's not just enough to repair buildings. We've got to restore hope. We've got to give people a reason to stay and rebuild, to continue to allow towns like this in Bremen and Dawson Springs to not only survive, but to thrive. So you know what? Thursday, we had a pretty good day. That's when Mayor Onan and Judge Perry and I were able to celebrate some amazing rebuilding news, announcing that Osmundson Manufacturing Company was going to locate here in Graves County and create 80 new, high-quality, good-paying jobs. And you deserve it. Oh my goodness, after all the tough days, after a pandemic, after tornadoes, after inflation and what it's doing, a war in Europe going on, you deserve good days. I think all Kentuckians deserve good days. You know, there's a proverb that talks about there might be weeping in the evening, but there will be joy in the morning. We will push through. And our commitment is not just to pick each other up when we fall or when we're knocked down, but together to march forward. And I can't think of a better way to honor these 81 lives lost, some of them children, than to make sure that every child born in Kentucky from here going forward has more opportunity than ever before in their lifetime. That we can create a Western Kentucky community and a Kentucky community that in their honor, a child can chase any dream that they have, no matter how big it is, right here. And that we no longer lose our children to other states and other opportunities, but we're able to keep them home right here in Kentucky. You got my commitment. This is not the last time you go see Brittany and I. I hope that's okay with you. We are going to continue. We are going to continue to be here for you, as will all of your state government. I see your state representative, who I called in the early mornings and told him my plans, and he said he was out on his tractor removing debris. And I said, that's right where you should be. The state legislature coming together and providing about $200 million to make sure your county and your city doesn't go bankrupt over the work that they have to do. The fastest disaster declaration we've ever received from our federal government. But you can bet that we're going to keep pushing. That what you did for us yesterday is great, but we need a lot of help to get to tomorrow. We'll continue to fight for this community because you are absolutely worth it. You're amazing, and we love you. God bless.